sun dipped low over the plains of Texas, painting the sky in fiery streaks of red and gold. Sarah Whitfield, a widowed homesteader, was gathering water from the creek when she heard hoofbeats in the distance. At first she thought it might be her neighbor, but the sound was frantic, unsteady. Then from behind the mesquite brush a rider stumbled into view. It was a Comanche warrior, his chest bloodied, his horse lathered with sweat. He collapsed from the saddle, landing hard in the dirt. Sarah's heart pounded. A posse couldn't be far behind. Sarah froze, her bucket clattering against the rocks. She had heard the stories. Comanche raids, settlers killed, farms burned. But the man lying at her feet wasn't a raider. He was broken, bleeding, gasping for breath. His eyes fluttered open, dark and fierce even in weakness. "Help!" he rasped. Behind her the faint echo of riders rose. A posse searching. Every instinct screamed for her to run. Instead she pressed a hand to his wound, whispering, "Hush." She dragged him toward her cabin, each step a battle between fear and compassion. Inside, Sarah worked quickly. She laid him on her bed, tearing strips from an old sheet to bind the wound. The warrior's breaths came ragged, sweat dripping from his brow. He tried to push her away, pride flickering even in pain. "Quiet," she ordered firmly, surprising herself. She heated water, washed the blood away, and stitched the wound with trembling fingers. Outside, hoofbeats thundered past, men shouting, guns clinking. Sarah held her breath until they faded into the distance. When silence returned, she looked down at the man she had just saved, her heart still racing. Night fell, shadows deepening in the cabin. Sarah lit a lantern, studying her guest. He was young, maybe not much older than her late husband had been when he died. His long black hair spilled across the pillow, his chest rising and falling shallowly. She whispered a prayer, unsure if God would forgive her for saving him. "Why did I do this?" she murmured. But when he stirred, eyes opening with confusion, she pressed water to his lips. For the first time, she saw not an enemy, but a man fighting to live. The next morning, Sarah woke to silence broken only by the clucking of chickens outside. She found the warrior awake, propped against the wall. "Why?" he asked in broken English, voice hoarse. Sarah hesitated. "Because I couldn't let you die." He studied her, eyes narrowing. "Danger for you," she shrugged. "Maybe, but I've lost too much already." His gaze softened slightly and he gave his name. "Tahu." She nodded. "Sarah." He tried to rise, nearly collapsing, and she caught his arm. For a brief moment, two worlds collided, her calloused hand gripping his strong but trembling arm. By midday, Sarah had hidden Tahu in the root cellar, just as the posse returned. Dust rose from their horses as they approached her cabin. "You seen an Indian pass this way?" one demanded, eyes scanning. Sarah forced calm into her voice. "No, just me here." They searched her yard, even glanced inside, but never thought to look beneath the trapdoor where Tahu lay silent in the dark. At last they rode off, muttering. Sarah exhaled shakily, her knees weak. She lifted the trapdoor, finding Tahu's steady gaze. "Safe," she whispered. He nodded, eyes glinting with gratitude. That night Sarah dreamed of fire, of her husband's death years ago in a raid, of her child taken by fever. Pain clung to her like a second skin. She woke to find Tahu standing in the doorway, silhouetted by moonlight. His wound still bound, but his stance strong. "You risked life," he said softly. "Why?" She swallowed hard. "Because no one deserves chains." His face hardened at the word. He stepped closer, studying her like he sought truth. Finally he nodded. "You have brave heart." She felt a strange warmth stir within her chest. The second day dawned quiet. Sarah tended her garden while Tahu sat nearby, carving wood with a small knife he carried. His hands were deft, shaping the figure of a horse. He placed it on her table silently. "Gift," he said. She touched the carving, surprised. For the first time in years, she felt something gentle in her lonely world. That evening, he helped fetch water, though he winced at the effort. Sarah watched him, realizing she no longer saw an enemy but a man of strength, carrying scars as heavy as her own. On the third morning, Sarah rose to the sound of distant drums. She stepped outside, the horizon alive with movement. A line of riders approached, their feathers and paint glinting in the sun. Comanche warriors. Her breath caught. Tahu appeared at her side, his face grim. "My people," he said. Within minutes they surrounded her cabin, spears gleaming, bows drawn. Sarah's heart hammered. She had saved one man, but what would his people do? Tahu raised a hand, speaking rapidly in his tongue. The warriors glared at her, suspicion sharp in their eyes. The Comanche chief dismounted, fierce and commanding. He spoke to Tahu, who answered firmly, gesturing to Sarah. The chief's eyes swept over her, this pale, widowed woman who had hidden one of their own. Sarah stood tall, though fear shook her bones. Finally, the chief spoke in broken English. "You help my son." "Son." Sarah blinked, realization dawning. Tahu was not just any warrior. He was blood of the chief. The chief's gaze softened just slightly. "We owe life." He extended his hand. Sarah stared, then slowly placed hers in his, trembling. From that day forward, Sarah's world changed. The Comanche did not harm her. Instead, they watched from a distance, guarding the edges of her land. Neighbors whispered about the strange alliance, about how a white woman had gained the protection of warriors. Sarah ignored them. At night, she sat with Tahu by the fire, their silences heavy but comforting. Slowly, trust grew between them, fragile as glass yet unbreakable. One evening, as stars burned over the prairie, Tahu whispered, "Your courage gave me life. Now my life belongs with you." Seasons passed. The fear that had once ruled Sarah's heart eased. Tahu came and went, riding with his people, but always returning. He repaired fences, planted corn, carved small wooden gifts that lined her shelf. In return, she taught him words in English, laughter returning to her lips. Their bond was spoken in gestures and shared work in long glances by lantern light. One spring evening, he placed a carved ring of bone in her hand. "Belong?" he asked simply. Tears filled her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. And in that moment, loneliness ended.